morning, everybody, and welcome back to Darvanalee Designs Studio. For those that don't know, my name's Nicole Reed, and today we are here for my booktube Stitch With Me. So it's the first one for 2022. So happy New Year, everybody, and hopefully you've had a wonderful festive season and you're ready to get back into some crafting, stitching, and reading. So all right, so the first thing that I'm going to talk about is the fact that how 2021 ended for me on the reading scale. I actually surpassed my goal of 100 books. I actually read 108 books. So I've made a few little plans and everything for the coming year. I have just been on the Goodreads and had a look at some of their anticipated new releases. So I've put them into a reading list. I've also put my new challenge. So I was waiting for that to drop, and then I didn't get on Goodreads for a couple of days. Of course, it dropped when I wasn't on there. So I've set up my new challenge, and I've set my goal of 110 books. So we also have a couple of challenges happening over in DD's group as well. We have our reading bingo. So we have a 12-week bingo that runs obviously for 12 weeks. And we've done the first roll. It was number 7 off the top of my head. I don't actually have it in front of me. And so that was read a bestseller off the New York Times bestseller. So I actually went way back to 1977 and doing a reread of The Thornbirds. And it's such a great story. I love it. The descriptiveness of it, of the New South Wales outback on the sheep farm, and just so many things about the book is just fabulous. So I'm slowly reading through that. I'm doing a bit of a audio and physical read. I've got it on my Kindle. It is actually, if you've got Kindle Unlimited, it is actually in there. So it is a big book. It is over 700 pages, I believe, or 650. So it's what I consider a big book. So for me, any book over 600 pages is a large book for me. Now, for some people, that might be over 400 pages. For other people, it might be over 300 pages. But for me, my average page read is between 350. Well, according to Goodreads, it's 354 pages is my average read of a book. So that to me is just a medium book. A small book is like 200 pages. But a big book is anything over 600. So I have a few on my list, my TBR for this year. I'm stepping things up a little bit. As I said, I've made my goal of 110. We've got our challenges happening, so that will help. I'm doing the ABC challenge again, which we have set up over in DDs. And as I said, we're doing the bingo, and we'll be doing 4 sets of bingos this year, which is great. That means even if you're just doing the bingo, that is about 48 books that will be by the end of the year. So, and we've just got the different prompts to make it super easy. So you don't have to think about it. Well, you still have to think about it because you've got to find a book, but it's not that bad. So hopefully you've got a cuppa. I've got a few books to get through. I didn't read any physical books in the Christmas period, but I did listen to quite a few. I did read one physical book, which was Daisy Jones and the Six. I finished that. But I started reading that before Christmas. I need a sip of coffee. It's early in the morning here. I slept in because I had a very late night last night. So no planning. You know what it's like. You get to the festive season and there's just no planning whatsoever. You're just winging it, 100% winging it. Dishes aren't done. I've got all the things to do, but I wanted to get this out of the way because then I can get on with my rest of my day. So, but I wanted to spend some time with you guys. That sounded terrible. I wanted to just get it out of the way. That's not what I want to do. I want to talk about books that I've read and all the rest of it. So I ended up reading a couple of classics. I finished Daisy Jones and the Six. I also read another Jessie Hunt book, and I also read the another book in the series, Virgin River series. So we'll start with Daisy Jones and the Six. Now, I started this on the 8th and I finished it on the 23rd. So I finished it just before Christmas. All right. So, well, first of all, I should probably tell you what I'm stitching on. I'm here stitching away. Basically, I'm stitching on Snow Village at the moment. I am doing that for our challenge. I've got to stitch 250 stitches in it to get to the next leg of my travel destination on the first leg of No New Starts Travel. So that's what I'm stitching on today, and I'm just using the called for colors. It was a kit from Fat Quarter Shop. They had a club where they sent it out every month. So the first one came with the first block, which was the large one in the center, and then basically they just sent the blocks. They sent all the floss out with that one, and then they just sent the blocks after that, which was really good. So I didn't have to chase it up or anything. So I have them all here. All right, so let's get back to Daisy Jones and the Six. As you can see, I'm not structured at all today. All right, so it was published in 2019. I'd seen a lot of good reviews for this one and all the rest of it. There was a lot of chitter chatter about it through some of the booktubers that I were watching. Some had read it when it first came out. Some had just read it last year. Some had read it in 2020. Like it was all over the place. All the ones that I was listening to. So they had a lot of there was a lot of mixed reviews and stuff like that. I'm probably mid-road on what I think of it and all the rest of it. It was a great book. It was an easy read once I got into it. It was pretty easy. Having worked in the music industry back in the 90s and stuff like that, obviously I didn't work in the 70s, but like working in the music industry and even working not so much with artists and bands and stuff like that, but just reviewing them and seeing the shenanigans that go on. It was a great book for that sort of aspect, because no matter what era you're reading from, there's still always those shenanigans, the heavy partying, the girls, the men, the drugs, sex, drugs, and rock and roll. Like, what's not to love about a story like that? So the author of this is Taylor Jenkins Reid. It was, as I said, it was published in 2019. This was a physical book, so there's no narrator, and it was set in the USA in the 70s. So yeah, and it basically follows the storyline. It starts off with the storyline of you introduced to Daisy Jones. She's off on her own, and then you're introduced to the Six, the band the Six, and they're doing their thing. They release an album, and subsequently the two worlds collide, and then that's when it sort of goes pear-shaped sort of thing. So it's sort of telling the story of their journey and stuff like that. I don't want to give away, because a lot of people still haven't read this book. So I don't want to give away too much and all the rest of it. But it's sort of, it was following the story of the bands and all the rest of it. But it was highlighting, for me, it was highlighting how you can have two people come together, do something really amazing, but then on the other side of the spectrum, they just can't be around each other for whatever reason that is. So yeah, like, because they're so good, but they're so bad together. Do you know what I mean? Like, so that's what I'm sort of trying to allude to there. Like, and I'm not giving anything away, but that's just sort of the premise of the story. And it had a very much like a lot of, and I don't know whether this is my feeling or whether it's from listening or reading other things, but it definitely have, I felt when I was reading it, like before I even thought about the vibe of it and all the rest of it, I felt like it was a bit of a Fleetwood Mac sort of, like I could see that happening in the Fleetwood Mac setting and stuff like that. So and it was written like an interview style, so it wasn't a novel, so like top to bottom pages of just words. It was actually spoken in the person. So if they were talking to Daisy, it was Daisy telling her part of the story. If they were talking to Billy, it was Billy's part of the story. If they were talking to Billy's wife, it was her part of the story, and all the rest of it. So it was a really easy read, even though I just wasn't really getting into it at first because it was the Christmas period and all that sort of stuff, and I was super busy and whatnot. I still really enjoyed the read. If you haven't read it, it's an easy read. Pick it up, read it. I wouldn't say it's my most favorite book. I'm not usually a fan of ones where it's an interview style, because I find, and this is probably just me, I find that I lose track of what's happening. So sometimes I've got to go back and read a couple of pages. And I did do that a couple of times in this, not so much a couple of pages, but went back a couple of people that were talking. And then that way I could get up to speed, because I think even though I didn't miss anything, I still think I've missed something, if that makes any sense at all. So after I read the book, I went and done a little bit of research on why. So, because sometimes the author will be interviewed over a very successful book, and they'll give the reason why they wanted to write that story and all of that sort of stuff. So I found an interview and then what magazine was it? I can't remember now. I think it was an English publication, and basically she just said that she wanted to write a story in a 70s setting because it's a great era to write for, and the fact that, you know, she wanted to focus on some women as well instead of just the men, because in that era it was mainly dominated by white males. So she wanted to bring in, so she wanted to focus on people that she was interested in writing about, and basically that was the women of the story. And so yeah, so she's got Daisy Jones, who is the she's a wild child, that one. And then you've got the keyboardist Karen, and then there's Billy's wife Camilla, and then Daisy's best friend Simone. And Simone was basically she was loosely based on Donna Summer, and she does say that, you know, she was wanting to put out a very much a Fleetwood Mac vibe and all the rest of it. While she was writing the book, she was listening to Rumors, their album Rumors, and yeah, so she's got that vibe definitely in there. You know, all the people that were saying that weren't making it up. It was there. Like, that vibe was definitely there. I gave this a 3.5 star out of 4. It wasn't quite a 4, definitely not a 5, like some people gave it, a 3.5. And it was pretty, like, it was pretty close to you know, things that happen. You know, you've got the people that take drugs, and, you know, there's all sorts of stuff going on, and you know, the groupies and all that sort of stuff. And that was another thing. She didn't want to focus on the groupie side of, like, the women just being groupies, because that's always how they're portrayed, those sort of writings and stuff like that. So I was really happy that she went a different direction with that. So yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed it. As I said, really easy read. All right, so I polished that off just before Christmas because it was bugging me. And that was my 103rd book that I had read for 2021, which was pretty good. All right, the next one is, this is a new series that I started. I think there's 5 in this series. This is by Philippa Gregory. I had to read this first because one of the prompts in the bingo, and I didn't have anything with a color in the title. And that's one of the prompts. So I've done a little bit of organizing and all the rest of it. So I had all those books ready to go on my bedside table. And these have been on my bookshelf. Oh, they've been on my bookshelf for at least 3 or 4 years. I got them. They were pretty cheap. They were a box set, and they were pretty cheap. I think they worked out to be like $7.50 a book, or maybe $5 a book. I think I paid like $20 for this book set. Like, it wasn't expensive. And so they've been sitting there for quite some time, about 4 years, I think, because Mia had just come to live here. So yeah, about 4 years. So this one is called The Lady of the Rivers. And it's by Philippa Gregory, and it's got 502 pages, and it was published in 2011. It is a general fiction, and I listened to this in audio because I know that I've got that in January, or in the next 12 weeks. I don't know when the prompt's going to roll, but it could be in January, it could be in February, it could be in March. I don't know. So basically, I wanted to read this book so I was up to speed with the storyline. So basically, I started this on Christmas Eve and I finished it on Christmas Day because everybody slept until 10 o'clock and I was up at the crack of dawn. And so I stitched and I listened to the book and finished it off. So that was great. So it follows the story of Jaquetta, and she is the daughter of the Count of Luxembourg, and she's also the kingswoman to half of the royalty of Europe. She married a Englishman, John Duke Bedford. Can't read my own writing, and he was uncle to Henry VI. All right, so it's got that vibe. Okay, so we're in that era. And I didn't write down the setting, but yeah, that it's book 1 of Tudor novels by her. So she's got quite a few books out. I wouldn't say it was an amazing book, but it was a book to listen to. I thoroughly enjoyed the story, and I am looking forward to reading the other ones. I think it's going to be an interesting storyline. And as I said, I've got the next one, I think, is the White Queen. Then there's the Red Queen, and then there's the Kingsman's Daughter or something along those lines. So there's a few of them. Anyway, there's a little bit of like the royalty side of things, and then there's a little bit of psychic stuff happening in this. So it's sort of I got the vibe when the book started that they were there was a girl being burnt at the stake for witchcraft and all the rest of it. So and yeah, and it was this girl seeing this and all the rest of it, and her auntie just saying, you don't talk about it, blah blah blah. Like not so much talk about it, but anyway, people knew of her abilities and her foresight and all that sort of stuff. So there's a little bit of that. It's not heavy in it, but there's a little bit of that undertone there. And then anyway, she ends up in England, and she marries this Duke Bedford, but he wholly and solely wants her for her abilities. That's the only reason he married her. They never consummated the marriage or anything like that. He married her shortly after his wife died. And the reason that he wanted her is because he had people working on the Philosopher's Stone and alchemy and all that sort of stuff. And he wanted her abilities to help with that. So he never consummated the marriage or anything like that. Subsequently, he died. And then she married a gentleman. He wasn't of royalty or anything like that, but she ended up she longed to have children, all that sort of stuff, and she ended up marrying without permission a gentleman, and basically she lost her fortune and blah 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 blah. She ended up with him, but they happily married, and he was off with the fighting the King's War and all that sort of stuff, and they were connected to royalty. So she ended up being I guess, is it what they call them, lady in waiting? Is that what they call them when they're working for the Queen, and they're dressing her and all that sort of stuff? Anyway, so she ended up carving out a life for herself with Queen Margaret of Adua, and she became a close friend and supporter of the Lancaster house. So basically I'm just reading my notes here, my scribbles, because a lot of time I scribble stuff down, because if you've been listening to me for a while, you know that I really struggle for annotating books and stuff like that. I just can't do it. So I have a book that I have beside me, and I write down the book that I'm reading, and then I scribble my notes in it. So sometimes it's a little bit, I could have been a really good doctor, because sometimes my writing looks a little doctorish. So anyway, she, it just toos and fro's and all the rest of it, and the struggles of royalty and trying to keep the throne, and all that sort of stuff. Like, seriously, they were just like a pack of wolves at each other. So basically, so there was a bit of that. There was a bit of to and froing, and she became really good friends with her and all the rest of it. But subsequently, she had quite a few children. Her eldest daughter, her husband, he basically went off to war and stuff like that. And so it sort of, when it left off with her. So I don't want to give any spoilers or anything like that. So the book sort of, it ended, but it didn't have an ending. So it's definitely going to continue on in the next book, which is The White Queen. And how it ended, excuse me, was with Elizabeth becoming the forefront of the story. So it's going to be, it was a really good, easy read. I gave it 3 stars because I'm actually interested in finishing this story. Like, it wasn't super exciting, but there was enough excitement in it to make you turn the pages and all the rest of it. Not 100% page turner, because there was a couple times I wanted to put it down, but I'm glad I persevered, because I think the story will now start to get its legs. So we'll see in book 2. And as I said, I've got that on the bingo prompts, so I won't be continuing on with it straight away, because I have still my Virgin River series to finish, and also I have my Jessie Hunt series that I'm still reading as well, and I've got another series that I want to sort of start, but I'm still in the Jessie Hunt mode. So I'm going to try and get a few of those books read in the next couple of weeks and start to knock that series over, because I've got another one of Blake Pearce's to start. Speaking of Jessie Hunt, I read The Perfect Secret. It was book 11 in the Jessie Hunt series, 204 pages. Read it in 4 hours because it was an audiobook. 3 stars. Wasn't her best book out that I've read so far. It was okay. It was an audiobook, as I said, and it is the narrator was Alka Mohanty is her name. And there's 2 people that read these books on the audio, and this is one of them. And she's not a fast reader, this one, so I do speed this up. So yeah, but anyway, 200. It was published in 204 pages. It was published in December 2020. It's a psychological thriller. In case you're new here and you don't know what the Jessie Hunt series is about, she is a criminal profiler, and it is following her story. Basically, her father was a serial killer, and you find that out pretty early in the piece. Her father was a serial killer, and she witnessed the death of her mother by the hands of her father. And basically it just follows her story of her becoming a criminal profiler, the connections that she makes with people, and all that sort of stuff. So this one was in the last couple of books, Jessie Hunt actually has left LAPD Central Station, and she is now a consultant for them. So she's gone to consulting instead of actually working for them. And that was because of a series of events that happened back in book 9. Was it book 9? Book 10? Book 9? Book 9, I think. Yeah, book 9. So her colleague in book 9, and this is a bit of a spoiler, he passed away, and he always felt like he was a criminal profiler too, and he was quite close to Jessie throughout the story. And so he felt like that he never had children or anything like that. So he always felt that connection with her. And so he left his worldly possessions to her, which happened to be his house. So in the last book, basically their house that they were living in, they left it and they were moving into Garland Moses's house because he no longer needs it. He's passed away. So there's a couple of underlying stories in this one. It was a good book. Don't get me wrong. It's probably... Actually, I wouldn't say it's my least favorite. It was still a page turner. It had 3 storylines going. So we had the storyline of Ryan, we had the storyline of Hannah, and we had Jessie as a consultant working on a case. She's still working for the LAPD, but she's just working on cases for them. So she's not on call and investigating everything. So they just called her in for particular ones. So this particular story starts out with a murder, obviously, and it was a prominent lawyer, Hollywood lawyer, and she had the who's who list of clientele and all the rest of it. So subsequently, and there's a little bit of, there was mobile cell dampening technology in this one, so you can't pick up signals. No one's phones work, so they couldn't track anybody by their phones or anything like that. There was a little bit of a lot of secret squirrel stuff going on, so to speak. The guy that owned the place has these parties and all the rest of it, and all the celebrities like going there because there's no drama with the things getting leaked and stuff like that. So for a long time I thought, for a few pages there, because there's not a lot of pages, but for a few pages there I actually thought that he was the one, that because he was being so secretive. But as with all thrillers, there's twists and turns, and then I was like, oh really, I didn't even see that coming. So but good book. I've rated it 3 stars. That's my standard issue for Blake Pearce, 3 stars. It's a great read. If you like a quick psychological thriller that is fast paced, these are the books for you. There's only 200 pages, so he's got 200 pages to tell his story. That gives you an indication that it is fast paced and you will enjoy the story. As I said, this is not my favorite one, and I think because I'm more fixated on although I'm fixated more on Jessie at this point, but I am starting to feel like she needs a little bit more in her life, and Hannah's story is now starting to really intrigue me, and this book did that for me. So it actually pulled it up. So at the moment we're not sure, because Hannah is got the same sort of backstory as well, and they're together, and it's just like, and Kat's still in the story, but sort of in the background. There's not much there. I'm not sure what's going to happen with her, if she's going to be brought in. She seems to be in a relationship at the moment up in the hills, with a guy that she met a few books back, and she seems to be happy and all the rest of it. So I don't know where that story is going to go because it's just sort of hanging out there. Nothing's happening there. Like, she gets mentioned every now and again, but nothing's really happening. And if nothing ever is ever going to happen with her, why is she still getting mentioned? She should just be hung out. Like, just get rid of it. So that's my, because it just gets your curiosity tweaked just that little bit, going, I wonder what's going to happen with Kat. So I gave 3 stars. I'm looking forward to reading the next one, which will be book 12. That was my 105th book for 2021. So I've got a few to get through. I did a little bit of reading. I did a little bit of listening. I did a lot of stitching. And everybody was off doing their own thing. And, there's no point in sitting here waiting for people to come home. I just get out and do my thing and get me stitching done and stick a book in, and off I go. So, that was really good. All right. The next one that I read was book 15 in the Virgin River series. So I think there's only 3 more books left in this series. I should have it finished by the end of the month, if not mid-February. This one was actually good. This has been narrated by Therese Palmer. She has done the narration for all of these books. Again, this is audio, published in 2011, and 347 books. So an average book for me. All right. Now, I have noticed that a lot of the books that I'm reading are from between 2010 to 2000, apart from Thornbirds, but 2010 to 2021. So for those that don't know, I actually had a bit of a hiatus on reading. I still was reading, but I wasn't reading as much as I am right now. And this is probably the most I've read in my life, but that's also conducive to my life now. Like, Mia's not here. I'm not as busy. I am still busy, but I'm not busy with kid stuff. Like, Neralee's not doing dancing anymore. She's working. Savannah's pretty much self-sufficient because she's leaving home in 12 months to go to university. And for those American people there, that's college. So she's in the stage of her life where I have to back right off because she's got to learn to do these things on her own and all the rest. So she's quite self-sufficient anyway, but there's a lot of stuff that I'm not helping with anymore. I'm still there if she needs help, but I'm just not helping with. So she becomes self-sufficient and not so reliant on me to do things. Cleaning is probably one of the ones that she needs to work on, but anyway, it's neither here nor there. That'll come. I've seen girls that are absolute slobs at home, and then they leave home and they're carbon copy of their mum and they clean all the time. So she'll be fine. And as I said, Nerale started working. So I'm not running around as much. I'm still doing a fair bit for Brendan. So where I've slacked off for them, I've picked up with him, but a lot of that stuff can be done at home. I don't have to do the running around. So I can have a book in and stuff, like listening to that while I'm working. And all the rest of it. And I've been finishing and starting my day, although today I didn't start my day with it because I slept in, but I've been finishing and starting my day with a book, whether that be an audio or a physical. I really try to read a physical book in the morning, and I always finish my day with a physical book. So last night I was reading The Thornbirds. I read, I think, 80 pages before I went to bed, or when I looked at the clock and went, holy moly, I should go to sleep. So so that's sort of where we're at the moment. So that's why I've been able to get a lot of books in. So book 15, Robin Carr is the author, and the book's name was Hidden Summit. So this story is about Connor, aka Danny, and Leslie. So basically Connor is in hiding in now these books are hard to talk about without giving little bits of snippets away, but this is the premise of the story. Basically Connor comes to Virgin River because he is in hiding. The story starts out with him, I think he's with Bree. Is it Bree, Jack's sister? She pops into it. She hasn't had a lot of stuff happening in the books or anything like that. She just pops in every now and again. So her story was pretty much told and just left at that. She's still lawyering, and not that that's a word, but she's still lawyering up for people and stuff like that. And occasionally she's called by the district attorney of where she used to work and stuff like that. to help out. And this is one of those situations where she's been asked to help hide someone that is essentially in witness protection because he's witnessed a murder of a very prominent businessman. And Leslie, she's trying to escape her ex-husband because she used to work for the Haggerty construction where, if you remember, Paul used to work, and he's now moved to Virgin River and started his business up there, a section of his business there. So she was still working for the that family's business and all the rest of it. And so she wanted to get away from her ex-husband and his new wife. And so basically Virgin River was the place to go because she could go and do work down there, and they really needed her help. So off they go. One thing led to another, and the paths of Connor and Leslie crossed, and then it just follows their story and all the rest of it, and the pitfalls of him being in witness protection and all the rest of it. And so I love the story. I found myself giggling, and that these two were actually probably for me, not that I've ever been in witness protection or been with anybody from witness protection, but I found them very relatable. They were like, I found myself giggling more with this couple and all the rest of it, just the whole working around it and stuff like that. And then you had the other characters pop in and out as they do throughout the book. And she's basically, as always, true to Robin Carr. She has set the book up perfectly to move on to the next characters that are coming to Virgin River. But the amount of people that are coming to Virgin River by the end of this series, it's going to be a city, not a little quaint little town anymore. But no, so they're still building the school and stuff like that. And so all those storylines are still sort of going on, and it's just a great series to read because you just immerse yourself into, and it feels like that you're there in that, you could be in any small town. And I think I relate to it because I live in a small town, and I've lived in smaller towns than this one that I live in now. And it's very much like that. Everybody knows your business. There's always that one person that knows everything. There's always that one person that helps with everything. There's always that, and so it's very relatable in that aspect. I really thoroughly enjoyed this, as always with the Virgin River. I have actually given this one 4 stars. I've given some of them a 3-star, but this one I actually gave a 4-star. I started it on Christmas Eve and I finished it on Christmas Day. So I actually read 3 books in 2 days because I read The Lady of the Rivers, The Perfect Secret, and then Hidden Summit. I think actually I started Lady of the Rivers on the 24th and finished that first thing in the morning on Christmas Day. So really, I could have said I finished it on 24th. I think I only had like 5 or 10 minutes left of the audiobook. And I finished that first thing. And then I started Perfect Secret, which they only go, like, because I listened to them, that one quite fast. I think I'm at 180, like 1.8 in the speed. So I knock them over in like 4 hours. And I got that from Scribe. And I also got Lady Rivers from Scribe as well. And Hidden Summit was on Scribe as well. So it didn't, if I was on Audible, that would have been like almost $45 for the 3 books because they're $14.95. So with Scribe, if you don't know about Scribe, it's $8.99 US, which works out to be about $12 a month Australian. And the books are included, but not all books are on there. Like sometimes it's a bit like here in Australia with Netflix, not everything's on Netflix, but as soon as you search for it, a couple of weeks later, it sort of pops up. So same sort of thing sort of happens with Scribe for me. All right, so that was those books. And as you know, I have been trying to read Jane Austen in the past 6 months. So I have finished reading Jane Austen. I've read her last 2 books, and I really wish I only read these 2 books. Because, like, I'm sorry. I know that there's some diehard Jane Austen people out there, but I'm sorry. She's just not for me. Like, while I do like her books, and I must admit, I do like these last 2 books, and I think that I feel like that she was just starting to, had she not died, because I believe these books were published after she was passed away. So I think had she not died when and she had wrote a lot more, I probably would have got into her a lot more. But I'm not discrediting her writing. Before anybody jumps on that bandwagon and going, what? I'm not discrediting her writing. She's just not for me. So I've read, let's put it this way. Had I not made myself that goal that I wanted to read all her novels before I made a judgment, I would have canned her after Emma. Emma was a very hard read for me. I started off reading it physically, and then I just went to the audiobook to finish it because I didn't want to not finish it, because I thought, sometimes books can waffle and then they just come home hard at the end and all the rest of it. Yeah, no. Emma is not the book for me. So anyway, I over the Christmas break, I read Northanger Abbey, and I also read Persuasion. Both were audiobooks, and these are free on Audible, so you can find a lot of the classics are included in the Premium Plus catalog now. So part of my membership, I'm not sure if it's the same for everybody, but part of my membership, which I pay $16.95 a month for my membership, and part of that I get the Premium Plus catalog. So I also get a credit for that, so I get a book for that $16.95, and then I also get a free book, and then there's the Premium Plus catalog, which has a lot of books in it. I've actually found quite a few series that seem really interesting and all the rest of it, and they're included in that. So I've actually I've saved them to my library. And the same as the classics. So I've found Great Gatsby on there, which was another questionable read. I found all the Jane Austens on there. I've gone through and found a whole heap of other classics that I want to read, like Jane Eyre and all that sort of stuff. So Jane Eyre, I think it is pronounced. I don't know. But anyway, these books, and they're all part of the Audible Premium Plus catalog and all the rest of it. So I really enjoyed these stories. I'm not going to go into great depths about them. I really did enjoy I'd say they are really close. I gave them 4 stars, people. Like Emma got a 1. I think Sense and Sensibility only got a 3, maybe a 2. No, he got a 2, and I think Pride and Prejudice and Mansfield Park got 3 stars. On that, these got 4, and I could probably even relook at it and give Persuasion 5. But I really did enjoy these. I really did. So for those that don't know, Northanger Abbey is 260 pages. It was published in 1817. It's part of a classic, and I listened to this on audio. I polished this off I started this late Christmas night and finished it off the next day. So the story follows Catherine Morland, and she spent a few weeks in Bath during the party season, where she meets Henry Tilney. I can't even read my own writing. Tilney. Anyway, she meets Henry. And basically he invites her back, like she falls in love with him. It's the standard issue, sort of Jane Austen and all the rest of it. And she goes back she's invited back to their home, and I'm very much just glazing over this at the moment. And then basically her imagination runs wild, and it was quite funny. I found myself giggling with this book and all the rest of it. And I really liked it. I just liked the characters in it and all the rest of it. Although I thought Henry was a bit of a douche at times, but most of the men are in these books, by today's standards. And I just found it. It was easy to read. Like I didn't have a problem with this book and all the rest of it. And I just felt like she was coming into her own. Like I just thoroughly enjoyed it. And it was the same with Persuasion. Like it followed the story of Anne Elliot, and it just basically, she was 27 years old when the story started. I think 26, 27 when the story started. And then it sort of goes back to 8 years earlier, where she was betrothed to a naval officer. And a friend of hers, Lady Russell, persuaded her to break off the engagement and because she felt that he was beneath Anne and all the rest of it. And like Anne was very quiet in the story. Like she's that heroine in the story that is back and watching people, so you're getting a different perspective of what's happening and all the rest of it, and you're sort of getting her thoughts on the whole situation and stuff like that. And so it just follows her story, and and it's basically a love story. So that's that. And that was my 108th book for 2021. And I think the reason that I liked Persuasion as well is because I was very much like that, and still am when I'm in social situations and whatnot, whereas I sit back and watch the whole situation and how things play out and stuff like that. So that I think it was a little bit relatable, and that, but I was having a conversation with someone, and I was saying, like, well, we were both saying, imagine those people being in our world. Like, we sit there and read these books and go out, transported back to their era, and like Jane Austen's era of 18, because it was only 200 years ago. And it made me realize, reading these books, how far as women we have come, and the freedoms that we have today that they didn't have, and stuff like that. And like in history's point of view, it's only a blip of time. It's only 200 years ago, like, just a little over 200 years ago, that these books were written and all the rest of it. And like, we have come so far. It could have very well been that we were still stuck in that stagnant place and not had the freedoms that we have today. But it's quite funny, like, when you're reading these books, you can picture the clothing, and you can picture them like standing so tall and straight and prim and proper and all that sort of stuff. But could you imagine if they were transported into our time today? It would be pearl clutching moments. These women. Like, I sometimes look at young girls of today and think, oh, okay. I don't say much more than that, but yeah. I'm sure you get the message anyway. What I'm trying to say, there's a lot, just even the language and all that sort of stuff, like how they would be just like, oh my goodness, what the heck is going on? All right. So they are all the books that I read over the Christmas period. I took a break from reading from the 27th, and I'd started Thornbirds on the 1st of January. So I had a 3-day break and didn't read anything, and just got some stitching done and chit-chatting and watching TV and just having a bit of a break, because I've got 110 books down on my goals list. I already have 8 for January that I need to get through. So that's including bingo prompts and all of Magical Stitches ones as well. So some of the books that I've got coming up on my TBR for January, I'm just bringing up my Goodreads. Just bear with me for one moment. Oh, this voice is driving me mental. So I'm reading Thornbirds at the moment. So we had the dice roll that is part of the bingo over in DD's quilting and crafting group, and I really probably should change it to a hobby group. But anyway, so we rolled that on the 31st of December at 6 p.m. so people could go into the New Year reading, because I knew I was going to be busy on New Year's, because I went to see Ghostbusters Afterlife. And I must say, I will give my review on that in a moment. That was a pretty good book, pretty good movie, not book. I'm looking at books as I'm talking to you. Okay, so my January reads is the Thornbirds, which I'm reading right now. We've also got the Novice Tale. And these ones are prompts that were for Magical Stitches. So we had to read it. We rolled 13 in that one. They're doing like a similar bingo type thing as well, but monthly. So, and there's 4 prompts. Okay, so they rolled 13, and the prompts were for N. So the letter was N. Okay, I just had to think what it was then. Sorry. So the letter was N. So we had to read a book that has novice in the title, one for a country that started with N, one with the word name in the title, so the actual name. So, the name of the wind is what I'm reading, and author that started with N. So lucky for me, I at the end of last year, I read Nora Roberts' Born in Fire. And so there is 3 to that trilogy. And so the next one in it is Born in Ice by Nora Roberts. So that ticked that one. I'm also started reading, which I put down and just because it's building world and all the rest of it at the moment, and I have to be in the right frame of mind. And this was a booktube recommendation by a couple of people, so that's why I'm reading it. I'm not sure if it's going to be the book for me, but anyway, The Name of the Wind is by Patrick Rothfuss. And so basically that was published back in 2007, and Nora Roberts' book is back in 1995. And then I picked a book that is based in New Zealand, and that is Once We're Warriors. That was published in 1995. And Brendan has that on audio, so he listened to it just recently. And the other one, which was have novice in the title, I have The Novice's Tale by Margaret Fraser, and it was published in November in 1993, and that's only got 229 pages. And yeah, so it looked like an interesting story. Another one that is I'm going to be reading, because I'm actually busy in February, so I'm going to read it in January, and then I'll do the prompts for it in February, is The Quicken a Thread by Amanda Lee. So that's for Magical Stitches. So they have reading prompts and all that, reading challenges and stuff like that. And then they pick a series for each year, and that's what they read. So we're supposed to read that from February to November, but I've got a lot on in February, so I thought I'll just get it out of the way, and then I don't have to worry about reading it in February as well as doing the stitching prompts. Okay, so they are the Magical Stitcher ones, and then I've got a couple of other ones on here. So Australian Heist, Crooked Kingdom, and Another Woman's Child. So I've got them on here, and hopefully some of those they are on my 22 and 22 list. They're ones that I want to read. I found not so much in Another Woman's Child, but anyway. But hopefully some of them might meet the bingo prompt, because like there's a young adult, there's an true crime, and a female author, a book over 300 pages, So they're like a few of those will be on there, but they're my planned reads for January. So I've got 8. Is it 8? Stormbirds, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Plus I also want to, get a couple of Jessie Hunt ones in there, and the Virgin. I'd like to get the Virgin River ones done. So, but we'll just have to play that by ear, and see where we end up with that. Like some of those books aren't very long books, so they will just get knocked over in a day. Like the Novice's Tale, Once We're Warriors, very, very short books, and Born in Ice, I read Born in Fire in a day and a bit. So I would. I'll be able to. We're all back at work now, so Brendan's back at work, and the girls are back at work, and all that sort of stuff. So, yeah. All right. So I do have some plans for 2022. So this is my plans as well for 2022. So I want to read some more classics. I have chosen to. I have put in my reading at the moment, because I started reading the first couple of chapters the other day, just to see if I like the narrator of it, because sometimes you can find classics that are included by a couple of different narrators. So anyway, I like this narrator, so I'm going to stick with it. So I listened to 1 or 2 chapters, Charlotte Bronte's Jane Eyre. So my plans for 2022 are to read some more classics and to read some bigger books. I'm still doing my reading journal setup, so I'm almost finished that. So once I'm finished that, I'll do a bit of a flip through. It's no expert whatsoever, but I'll do a bit of a flip through on a Saturday, and you can have a little bit of a look at what I've got. I have shared some of the pictures over in the Facebook group. So yeah, so you can see that. And I've just taken inspiration, like most people, from Pinterest, other YouTubers, stuff like that. Done mishmash and melds and all the rest of it. So I definitely want to read at least 12 classics this year. So that's at least one a month. I have already put a Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte into my reading thing, because as I said, I did start that. Again, they're going to be audio, because I don't have those books here. So basically that's where we're going to end up. Although I am going to be reading one of the biggest books I probably ever read, although I did read The Stand back in the day, and I think that's got 1,100 pages in it, or 900 pages. There's some big books that I'm going to be reading this year. So on my classics TBR, I want to read The Count of Monte Cristo because I really like the movie, but I've never read the book. So I want to read that. That's like 1,200 pages, 1,100 pages, something like that. That's huge book. And then there's a couple, like I want to focus on Charles Dickens. So I like his style of writing, as I talked about his Christmas Carol that I've read that many times. There's a few others that I can't remember the titles off the top of my head, but I know I've read a couple of his books back when I was younger. So I'm revisiting him. I like his style of writing. So I have gone through and I'm actually going to read them in chronological order. And most of them I have found over, and there was a couple that were included in the premium thing, in the Premium Plus catalog. So I've gone through and I've just found, because they're going to be on audio, I have found the narrator that I like to listen to. So I've got a few of he's put down in there. There was a couple that I couldn't find where he had read them. So so I'm going to try to focus on Charles Dickens, and basically, there's some big books coming. So as I said, The Count of Monte Cristo is like 1,100 pages. I think the first book of Charles Dickens is like around the 900 pages. Thornbirds is around the 700 pages. So I've got some big books to read this year, but I'm actually looking forward to it, like really looking forward to it. And I've gone through and found the most anticipated releases of 2022 as well. And I've gone through and read all the publishers' notes and what the book's about and all the rest of it. And I have actually put them in into a shelf on my book Goodreads as well. So lots of stuff is coming up. We've got the bingos happening. We've got the A to Z. So that's already happening for me. So I'm looking forward to knocking that list off, and I come really close in 2021, and I'll just grab my book where I had them listed down, and I read all. So my 21 and 21 I didn't complete. I missed out on 3 books. 4 books. So 4 books I've forgotten to cross off Daisy Jones. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So I didn't quite get there on that one. But my A to Z one, where is it? Let me just find it. So we worked out my favorite book was the Dictionary of Lost Words. So my A to Z, I didn't read Q and X and Z. So 3. I got all but 3. So 23 books is not too bad for the A to Z. So there was nonfiction in there. There was lots of different, like there was a few nonfiction ones in there, a couple of self-help ones, all that sort of stuff. And so I did have. See, Z is very hard. Like Z is a hard one to come up with. And so was X. So I did have a couple of suggestions written down, so I may end up reading them this year. So one will be a reread from school, which was Z for Zachariah. I really enjoyed that book when I was at school, so it'd be interesting to see if I enjoy it now. And so that's why I sort of put it there. But so I'm doing that one. I'm doing a bingo challenge. I've got a couple of things in my reading journal to help me decide which is going to be my favorite novel for 2022. I've decided that I upped the ante. I was actually going to downgrade it, but then when I got all the challenges through and then my bingo prompts and what I've got on my audio and all the rest of it, I was going to be at 100 books anyway. So I added an extra 10. I can do that 2 a week. I can definitely do that when I'm busy. If I'm not busy, well, then obviously I can get a little bit more listening done and all that sort of stuff. I've got a few quilts that I've got to get done. I've got a lot of sewing of bags and samples and all that sort of stuff where I've just got to focus, get in and get it done. So there's all of that sort of stuff that I've got, which I like to use the books for. But that is everything. That is the wrap up and the plans. And obviously those plans are going to chop and change a little bit. But if you're interested in coming and doing some challenges, it's not too late to come over and play bingo with us. We do a roll every Friday at 6 p.m. You get a new number and a new prompt. We rolled on Friday of last week, which was the 31st. So come over, join the group, go to the events, find the bingo challenge and also the ABC, and then you can join in the fun with us. And yeah, you can get some reading done this year. If nothing else, just following the bingo prompts or following the ABCs, you're either going to get 26 books read or you're going to get 48 books read just doing that alone. You don't have to be crazy like me and read all the things. On that. Anyway, that is it from me today. Have a fabulous day, everybody. I'm so glad I'm back to reading and talking about it with you. I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did enjoy this video, give it a thumbs up down below. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you're new here, or if you've been here for a while and you haven't yet hit that subscribe button. Ring the little bell icon to all notifications, and then that way you won't miss out on any future posts. And you can join me again if this is what you're into. Join me again next Monday for another BookTube Stitch with me, where I talk about the books that I have read. So I'll be doing the wrap up on Thornbirds next week. So all right, have a wonderful week and day, everybody, and I'll see you all again soon. Bye for now.